But we're not done yet, because it's my pleasure today to announce Mac OS X. This is, I hope, also going to blow you away. We are announcing Mac OS X here today. I'd like to go over the goals for Mac OS X. First, we are going to have a single OS strategy at Apple. We're not going to have a dual or a triple or a quadruple OS strategy like some others. We're going to have one OS. And that's very important to us. The second is the Mac OS needs state-of-the-art plumbing. We need the best operating system kernel technology, the best internet networking in the world. Right? We need the best plumbing of any operating system out there. Third, we need killer graphics. Almost every app depends on graphics, whether it's design and publishing apps for our pro customers down to things that we use every day. We need killer graphics in this system. And we need to design it for the internet from the start. We need to design it in a way that most users who are always plugged into the internet get full benefits. We need to design it in such a way that we use internet standards throughout, and we've done that. And we need a gentle migration, because we have 25 million users using our current generation operating systems. So these were the goals for Mac OS X. But to sum it up, it was make the next great personal computer operating system. Now, there's going to be a 12-month rollout of Mac OS X. You can't do these things overnight. It's going to be a 12-month rollout. So we are announcing it today, January 2000. Our developers have already had a few betas of the software. They're going to get another pre-release of the software at the end of this month. The final beta will go out to developers this spring. Mac OS X will be on sale as a software product starting this summer, and we will be preloading it on all machines a year from now. So that is our rollout strategy. Now, I'd like to go through the architecture of Mac OS X with you. To start off with, we need a kernel. And that kernel we call Darwin. Darwin's amazing. It's a super modern kernel. And it's got protected memory, preemptive multitasking, modern networking, all the things you'd expect, done in a very elegant way. And it's very Linux-like, very much so. It's got free BSD Unix, which is the same as Linux. So it looks almost the same to developers. It's got a mock microkernel, and it's completely open source. You can go to Apple's website today and download it, as 75,000 people already have. It's completely open source, and we're getting a lot of help from the Mac community to make it better and better and better. So we're extremely excited about Darwin. The next layer on top of Darwin is killer graphics. We've got three components: our 2D, which is Quartz, our 3D, which is OpenGL, and our media layer, which is QuickTime. And they're all seamlessly integrated right into the operating system. So let's take a look at Quartz. Quartz is PDF-based. What does that mean? You know when you go to the web and you see PDF documents, you read them with Acrobat, this great technology invented by Adobe? Well, that technology is now at the core of Mac OS X's graphics. So you can image PDFs instantly. We have on-the-fly PDF rendering, anti-aliasing, and compositing, which will blow you away, built at the core of the OS. So now all applications get this for free. And we have built-in transparency into the model. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. Our OpenGL 3D standard is the most widely supported 3D standard in the industry. It's very advanced, and we have full hardware support for it, built in, again, to the core of the operating system. And obviously, QuickTime for digital video and audio, live internet streaming, internet standard, 33% market share, built into the core of the OS. So those are our killer graphics. The next layer are our APIs, the things that our developers program to. And there are three of them in Mac OS X: Classic, Carbon, and Cocoa. Classic, and the reason for this is to provide a gentle migration for people from the left to the right over time. Mac OS 9. Classic runs Mac OS 9 apps as is, without modification. So you can run your Mac OS 9 apps right on Mac OS 10. You do not get all of the new features, however, because it's impossible to do technically. But they all run, and they run well. Carbonized apps get the new features. Now, what's a carbonized app? It's something that takes a developer a few months, 1 to 3 months, to carbonize their app to get it ready for OS 10, and all of a sudden it springs to life with all of the new features of OS 10. And the third API is Cocoa. It's completely different. It's fully object-oriented. You can write applications in Java or other object-oriented languages and get all of those benefits. So developers can choose any one of these they want. They can run the existing apps in Classic. They can spend a very short amount of time carbonizing their app to get all the new features, which we think everybody will. Or for new applications, they can write them in Cocoa and get all of the benefits of Apple's incredibly advanced object-oriented technology. So that is the API layer. So this is the architecture. Except there's one more thing. The one more thing is we have been secretly, for the last 18 months, designing a completely new user interface. And that new user interface builds on Apple's legacy and carries it into the next century. And we call that new user interface Aqua, because it's liquid. One of the design goals was when you saw it, you wanted to lick it. And so we call it Aqua, and this is the architecture for Mac OS 10. And we are incredibly, incredibly excited and pleased with how this has turned out. Now, when we talk about user interfaces, let me show you. This is it. No. This is what started it all, right? The original Macintosh in 1984, 512 by 384, dots on the screen, black and white, kicked off a revolution. And we saw others follow in the late 80s. This is Windows 3.1 in the late 80s. And Apple followed up in the mid-90s with the current user interface called Platinum, still the best thing out there. And then this is Windows 98, which obviously came out in 98. So these are the user interfaces out there. They're all credible. They all work. How do we take this to the next level? Well, let me show you a few slides on Aqua, and then I'd like to demonstrate it for you. So this, you get a little feeling for what Aqua may be like. So I'd like to just start off, when you design a new user interface, you have to start off humbly. You have to start off saying, what are the simplest elements in it? What does a button look like? And you spend months working on a button. That's a button in Aqua. This is what radio buttons look like. Simple things. This is what checkboxes look like. This is what pop-up lists look like. Again, you're starting to get the feel of this, a little different. This is what sliders can look like, right? Now let me show you Windows. This is what the top of Windows look like. These three buttons look like a traffic signal, don't they? Red means close the window, yellow means minimize the window, and green means maximize the window. Pretty simple. And tremendous fit and finish in this operating system. When you roll over these things, you get those. You see them? And when you are no longer the key window, they go transparent. Right? So a lot of fit and finish in this. In addition to the fit and finish, we paid a lot of attention to dynamics. Not only how do things look, but how do they move? How do they behave? And our goal in this user interface was twofold. One, we wanted to give a much more powerful user interface to our pro customers. But two, at the very same time, we wanted to make this the dream user interface for somebody who's never even touched a computer before. And that's really hard to do. It's like when we do films at Pixar. It's really easy. It's a lot easier to make a film that appeals to 5-year-olds and under. But it's very difficult to make one film that 5-year-olds love and that their parents also love. And that was the goal of this user interface, to make it span the range so that our people turning on their iMac for the first time were enchanted with it and it was super easy to use. And yet our pro customers also felt, my God, this takes me to places I thought I could never get to. And that's what we tried to do. We also have proxies built right in, so when you want to drag a document off, you can just drag this little proxy off very nicely. And these are what scroll bars look like. Right? So, let me go ahead and show this to you. If everything works, this is, very few people have seen this until today. We've kept this very secret, and it's my pleasure to show it to you now. So, let me first show you what a control panel looks like, just some controls. So I'll just open one of these preferences control panels. This is sound. Again, you can see what sliders look like here. Pop-up lists, checkboxes, radio buttons, checkboxes. Now, one of the things we didn't want to do was to put a big black circle around the button that gets activated when you hit return. So what did we do? We're using the fact that, we have a gigaflop sitting here. Maybe we can do something with it. And so very gently, we just dim and brighten the button to say, hey, this is the one that's going to get activated if you hit return, and clean up the user interface. Let me just show you another one here real quick. Another preference panel. And so we think these look a little bit better than the current system does here. Same sort of thing, right? Very, very simple. So those are some panels. Now I'd like to show you some windows. This is a window here. And notice when I drag the windows around, it drags the contents around. It also does that on resizing. You notice this? Kind of nice. And you see the scroll bars here. Again, proportional scroll bars. You see what happens when they move. They come and go as necessary. And you can see our 3 buttons at the top here, right? So put the window away, etc. And you'll also notice, let me bring up another one here. You'll also notice that the windows have wonderful shadows on them. You see the shadows on the right of this window? Maybe if I bring up a text document, you can see it even better against white. You see that against the white there? Right? See that? Very, very subtle, very nice. And windows don't even need to be the activated window to put them away. These controls, I can roll over and just put this thing away. Right? Very nice. So now what I'm going to do is show you an incredible thing that some of our geniuses came up with. In Mac OS, we'll touch upon this a lot, Mac OS generates a ton of windows, and you get to be the janitor and clean them all up. And one of the most annoying is panels, right? Like a save panel. So you go to save, and a save panel comes up. Now, a lot of times it's modal, so you can't do anything else on the machine, even on another app. That's ridiculous. But even if you could do something on another app, by the time you come back, you've forgotten which window or document that save panel's for. And you've got to manage it and move it all around. How could we simplify this whole thing? Well, let me show you. So here's a window, and I'll do a save as right now. See that? Right? Simple. And so, I can be, oh yes. And I can have, as an example, I can have a few of these up here, right? And I can just say, let's save this one. And it's very clear, what that pertains to. I can go do something else if I want to. And when I come back, I know exactly what that thing pertains to. Now, what happens, though, if the window's really small? I mean, we've got to think these things through, and I want to save that. Well, this is what happens. And what happens now? What happens if this thing's up against the side and I hit save as? Well, that's what happens. Just puts it back when you're done. Now, let me show you something else that's cool. You'll notice that this save panel looks a little different than you've seen before. It actually is very simple. You might be able to understand it. And so you could type something in here, and you have this pop-up list, which has your favorite places, which you get to manage what's in there, and your recent places you've saved stuff. And so most of the time, 99% of the time, when you want to save something, you just pick somewhere like Documents and go save. Pretty simple, huh? But if a place that you want to save something isn't there, you just hit this button, and you get a full browser here. And so if you know your network, you can just go around your network, pick wherever you want. Right? Boom, boom. Wherever you'd like to save it, or just hide that. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. Make sense? Right. Okay. We're just getting started. Now, menus, we thought a lot about menus, and what we came to the conclusion was that Mac's menus are the best menus in the world. There's nothing better. They work great. There's 25 million people that know how to use them, and they're wonderful. So let's just do a great implementation of pull-down menus. You'll see that they actually fade out like this. Very nice. But you'll also notice that they're actually semi-transparent, too, except for the text. Isn't that cool? Let me just give you another example of that. See that? Pretty cool, huh? So, what else do I want to show you on menus? That's pretty much it for menus. So now what I'd like to do is go into a topic that I think a lot of the developers were worried about, which is the Finder. Were we going to make a radically new Finder? The answer to that is yes and no. The Mac Finder was a brilliant invention and is a great way to store documents. And nobody's invented anything better. But we can do a better implementation of it that does a lot more for you. So let me show you the new Finder. It's completely new, and yet I think you'll recognize it. This is the new Macintosh Finder. Now, it works just like your old Finder if you want it to. Now again, the old Finder, when I clicked on things, it spawns windows, right? So here I am, clicking on things, getting a lot of windows, and I get to be the janitor. Well, if you want to be the janitor, you can be, and clean up all these windows. But the default way it works is to just do that for you. And every time I click, it just takes me somewhere, just replaces the window with the place I want to go. And if I want to get back, there's this pop-up list right here. It shows me everywhere I've been. I can go anywhere back there. Boom, I'm back to the computer. Or I have something that's also very easy. I have a back button, just like on a browser, that takes me back to the last place I was. Very simple. We also have a search field where you can type in anything and find documents by both name and content almost instantly. So it's really easy to find stuff. It's really easy to navigate. Now, let me show you some things we've added to make it even easier to navigate. We have icon view here, right? So I can go into here and go into Documents and follow it down that way. Or, of course, I have list view, which you're all familiar with, right? But we've added another view called browser view, which lets me see my whole tree here, everywhere I've been, all the way back, every choice I've made. And you can click between these views so easily, right? Now, in browser view, there's another fun thing, which is if you click on one of these, we've added a preview mode. And so I can preview any kind of documents right here just by clicking on them. As a matter of fact, I can even preview QuickTime movies. Pretty cool. I love these outtakes. So, we have all sorts of different ways to view your files at a click of a button right here up on the Finder. You can just pick whichever one you want, change it as often as you like. Now, in addition to this, we've added some buttons here. And these buttons are shortcuts. They're shortcuts to the places that you go all the time. And so we have one called Computer. Boom. It takes you to your computer. You can see your disk drives. You can see the network if you want to. Go on the network, whatever you want to do. We have another one called Home. Well, what's that about? Well, if you're the only user on your computer, your home is just going to be on your computer right there next to the hard disk. But if you set up your computer on a network or set it up even at home or in a classroom to be multi-user that we talked about, like Mac OS 9 does, everybody will have their own home. And this takes you to your home, whether it's on your local hard disk, somewhere down the tree, or even in another building on a file server. It'll just take you right to your home. This button here takes you right to your apps. You ever have trouble finding your apps? Boom, there they are. This button takes you to all your documents. And again, you can have folders in here and organize this however you want, make the hierarchy however deep you want. You know, it's up to you. But one button takes you to the top level of your documents. Favorites, this is your favorite places to go. Now remember, on the Save panel, when I popped up that list and it showed me my favorite places to go, the way I set that is by dragging things into this Favorites folder. And every time I have an Open or Save panel, it just reads this folder and shows me those places in that pop-up list. It's as easy as changing my favorites. It's as easy as dragging in and out folders from this one place. And if I'm in a multi-user system at home or in a classroom or on a network, and I want to see the other people on the network, I just push people, and if I have permission, I just click on one of these, and I go right to, like, in this case, Avi's home directory if I have permission. So I can find people very, very easily and get to their home directories to share stuff. So computer, home, apps, docs, favorites, people. Pretty cool, huh? And this is the new Mac Finder. It offers far greater power to professional users, such as things like the browser and inline viewing. And yet, for the beginner, having these buttons up here, taking them to places that are so easy to find things, it is far easier to use than the current Finder on the Macintosh. And we think now sets the new standard for excellence on personal computers. So, remember I told you we had 3 APIs. We have Classic that runs existing Mac OS 9 apps without modification. We have Carbon, which allows the developers to tune up their Mac apps really fast and get all the features of 10. And then we have our very advanced object-oriented APIs, Cocoa, which lets you write apps in 1/10 of the time. I'm going to show you apps from each one of those right now. So first, let's begin with a Classic app. So I just go to my Docs folder, and I've got one here. I've got an Excel spreadsheet. And I just click on it. Launches Excel, and there's Excel. You know, I can just go change something. You can see the pie chart change here. Boom. And there's Excel running. Just like normal. Launches, you see the launch time on this? Really fast. It's really, really nice. So that is Excel. And as you see, you don't get all the nice bennies, right? Here's the Save panel, or the Quit panel with Excel, and it looks like Mac OS 9. So it does not inherit the new user interface. Now, the next thing I would like to show you is an app that's running in Carbon. And this app is really interesting. The company that authored this app has never seen this incarnation of Mac OS 10. They've never seen the new user interface. And what I'm going to show you is an app that has been carbonized and runs on 9 when you recompile it and run it on 10 with literally no changes to the code to take advantage of the new features. And that app I'm going to show you is Internet Explorer 5. We've been working with Microsoft to help them carbonize their app. We got a copy of it, and let me run it. Here it comes. This is Internet Explorer 5, what you just saw on the slide that runs on 9. And again, it's inheriting all of the benefits of 10 in terms of its new scroll bars, its new window bars, all of its behaviors, its shadowing, et cetera, et cetera. And they can now go back in here inside their app and take whatever advantage they want of our new control elements and otherwise in a very short period of time. So here's Internet Explorer, a carbonized app running just perfectly on 10. So here's Apple. Let me go to, here's the Time site. Let's go see what's in Time magazine. I can just go to Amazon here if I want to. And it's all working great. And again, Microsoft, today is the first day that Microsoft's even seen this user interface. We wanted to do a test to see if the code would just work. And it does. OK. So, and now I'd like to show you a Cocoa app. We think, what's the most used application on the internet? It's not a browser, it's email. And we want to take more responsibility for providing a great email client for those Mac users that want to take advantage of it. So Mac OS X comes with a built-in email client that we think is the best in the world. And it supports full POP and full IMAP, for those of you that know what that is. And you can just click on messages. You see the contents. We have full inline graphics. So these things were sent as attachments, but they just image inline. There we go. Again, that was an attachment. Just images them right in line automatically. I've gotten a bunch of holiday cards here from Apple. And again, real-time resizing, real-time repartitioning. And I can get new mail here. I'll show you something cool. This is the progress bar in OS X. So you can just go fetch email. And we've got some other fun things we built into it. I can take a message and just say I want to reply to it. And in the CC field, once I start typing, I've got really smart addressing. So it just goes back and just shows me, as an example. And each time I type, right, I type Avi, boom, I get it, boom, I'm done. Really smart addressing built into this thing. And let me go ahead and show you another cool thing we built in. Yes, please close this. We built in system-wide a whole new font panel. And so I can select this and bring up our font panel. And in the font panel, we've got a few new things. First of all, of course, we have the ability to change fonts. Let me make a much bigger size so you can see it here. And I can just change fonts, and it all images beautifully. And by the way, you'll notice that all the text is fully anti-aliased, so it looks really gorgeous, all on the fly. Right? But we've added this concept of collections. So I can look at all my fonts, or I can look at a collection I have called Fun Fonts. And people can organize their fonts into collections. Right? Isn't this nice? And it's very easy to manage all those things. In addition, I've got this little button on the bottom now called Buy Fonts. And when I hit that button, it takes me to a website where you can buy fonts online and have them automatically downloaded into your computer. So if you ever want to buy more fonts, it's going to be really easy. OK. Now, one last thing I want to show you is, what about different mailboxes? Well, we've built that in too. So you push this button called Mailboxes, and out they come. Right? Very simple. And I can transfer something just by dragging it here and just put it in any one of these mailboxes. Very easy to look at another one of these mailboxes here just by clicking on it. And now what happens if my mailbox isn't out and I want to save something? Again, I just drag it and it comes out and transfer it and it goes back in. And if I prefer the other side, I can just drag that way and do the same thing. Very simple. So this email client will ship with Mac OS X, and it will be built in. Let me show you now. I want to regress and show you one other Carbon app, which is really cool. And it's an app that we have up and running called QuickTime. QuickTime is all up and running on Mac OS X.
For the first time in history, a personal computer has been classified as a weapon by the U.S. government.
That's cool.
With the power to perform over 1 billion calculations per second, the Pentagon wants to ensure that the new Power Macintosh...
You get the idea. Isn't that incredible? Now, let me show you another one. This is the new trailer for Mission Impossible 2. And this is a great trailer here, too. Let me move it ahead a little bit here.
Good morning, Mr. This is your big...
You get the idea. Pretty cool. Now, we've seen some pretty cool apps. We've seen existing Mac OS 9 apps work without modification. We've seen carbonized apps that were really easy to tune up to get all the benefits of Mac OS 10. We've seen Cocoa apps like Mail built from scratch using very advanced object-oriented technology. I want to show you an app that I hope you never see. I'm going to go back and go to the Finder, and I'm going to go to Apps. And this one's called the Bomb app. And we actually wrote this app. And we wrote it because we wanted to make sure, and also to demonstrate, that when an app crashes in Mac OS 10, it does not bring the system down, like we all are used to. So I'm going to launch the Bomb app. Now, this Bomb app does everything it can to kill the system. It goes walking through low memory. It does all these heinous things. And so I'm actually just going to go ahead and play the trailer here maybe a little bit. And, you know, I'll just go ahead and light this thing. No problem.
Good morning, Mr. Hunt. Sorry I barged in on your vacation.
Again. So let me just run that again because, believe it or not, a lot of people have been waiting for this for 10 years. And it's actually here. And again, this is going to do everything it can to trash the system. Nothing.
Good morning, Mr. Hunt. Sorry I barged in.
Okay. Next, all of what you've seen now is possible because of the killer graphics that are built right into Mac OS 10. And these killer graphics are extraordinary. And what I'd like to do now is demonstrate Quartz to you, just some of the features of Quartz. First of all, again, Quartz is totally PDF-based. And so what I can do is I can go get some things here. Let's go to the Finder. Let's go to Documents. And down here, I've got some things from Toy Story here. Hey, by the way, how many of you saw Toy Story 2? We're very fortunate today to have the director of Toy Story 2, John Lasseter, and the co-directors, Lee Unkrich and Ash Brannon, in the audience. Where are they? Where are you? Stand up, guys. Where are you? Yeah. So I'm going to use some Toy Story logo stuff because I love Toy Story. And so here I just dragged the PDF right into here. You notice how fast it imaged, by the way. And you notice that it's fully anti-aliased. And I can resize it like this if I want to. I can rotate it. I can do whatever I want. And I can put a shadow on it if I want to. And again, you know, just to do anything I really want to. This is all being calculated on the fly. And you notice the shadow's on the bottom now, and they stay on the bottom, right? So very simple. So I've got Toy Story here. Let me just go ahead and drag in the story here. And we'll put that maybe up here, like this. And we'll drag in our 2 and make that a little bit smaller, maybe. Oops. Make it a little bit smaller here. And now, let me just show you something. Let me take story here, and I'll go ahead and put shadows and everything, because it makes it harder, actually. And let me go ahead and show you transparency. This is what transparency is. See that? So we can do any partial transparency all throughout the system so easily. Now, every app can do this. It gets it for free. Let me go ahead and drag in a photograph as an example. Now, you know, what does every kid in the country have on their minds? You know? Right? Isn't that great? So another thing I can do if I want to is, again, I could you know, open up Mail and decide I want to send this to somebody. And since the whole system is PDF-based, I can, you know, I can just drag this into a. Oh, I got to get a new viewer, and let me just get a compose window up here, And I can just take this thing and drag it out here. Notice how it makes a little PDF icon, and drag it over here, and just drop it in. Boom. Now it's imaged in my mail view. Okay, so that's what we're doing with PDF, and it's system-wide, these incredibly killer graphics system-wide. Now, to give you another example of graphics, what I'd like to do now is show you an incredible 3D application of graphics running on Mac OS X using OpenGL, hardware acceleration, the works. And that is Quake 3, one of the hottest new games. John Carmack and his team have ported Quake 3 to Mac OS X very easily. And to demonstrate it now, I'd like to bring up Phil Schiller, Apple's Vice President of Worldwide Product Marketing. Phil?
Hey, Steve.
So
I get to do one of the most fun things, and that's to play games. I go home late at night, play these games all night long, and my wife doesn't really believe it's part of my job. But it is. And there's nothing cooler than being able to work on Mac OS X and try out and demonstrate to all of you the very first game ever demonstrated on Mac OS X. And so for me, it's a pretty big moment, a pretty exciting thing. OpenGL is just built right into the core of the system, very high performance, very powerful, and Mac OS X is going to be a tremendous, great gaming platform for all our great developers and all of our great customers. So let me bring up Quake 3 on my system here. Get my keyboard set up with all my favorite Quake settings. For all of those who play Quake, you know what I mean. And this gives really ultimate meaning to the term killer graphics. So we're launching Quake 3 now, the Mac OS X version, right on top of Mac OS X. I'm going to go into single player mode and actually start a fight. Now this is going to be a no blood and guts demo. For everybody who wants that, after the show, I'd be happy to show them how good I can really be. So I'll keep it at the lowest setting. We're going to launch right into the first arena of Quake 3. It's going to load in its graphics maps, all its sound files, its characters, its weapons. And this is one of the best 3D games to show off the performance of OpenGL in Mac OS X. And it's loading. Or not. Not having luck today. So we're going to have to try this again later, Steve.
Okay, that's great. It's pretty awesome when it works. Thanks, Phil.
All right.
Okay. So now I'd like to show you one of the coolest things about Mac OS X. When Apple shipped the original Macintosh, it introduced to the market an organizing principle called the desktop, to organize your work, to keep track of things. And as computers got more complicated, i.e. you could work on many things at once, we have internet connections and email coming in and out and stuff, there has never been an enhancement of that organizing principle that worked really well to help you manage all these things you're doing at once. And we have come up with something really great for Mac OS X, and it's called the dock. And I'd like to show it to you now. This is the dock. It's at the bottom of the screen. It always stays centered. And it allows me to put things into it. I can put all sorts of different things into it. How do I put things into it? Well, I can drag things into it. But let me show you a much cooler way to get things into it. I've got these three buttons up here. One closes the window, the other maximizes it, the third minimizes it, the middle one. Where does it go when a window minimizes? Well, it goes here. And you notice my dock just grows, right? Let me open another one. Minimize it. And of course, I can move these things around in the dock anywhere I want to, right? Whoops, I didn't want to do that, sorry. And I can just hit them, miniaturize them, boom, boom. Pretty cool, huh? Let me even show, I can slow this down. We built in a special slow-mo mode for the demo here today. Look at this. Isn't that cool? It's just magical. And it shows you exactly where they go. Again, it's that same, we call it the genie effect, that the sheets use when they come out. And I can just play with it all day long, actually. So, let me even show you one other thing here. This is particularly amazing. I'm going to get my Mission Impossible QuickTime movie back up here. And there it is. And so why don't we go ahead and, play some of this. Let's go ahead and minimize it, huh? Pretty cool, huh?
Good morning, Mr. Sorry I barged in on your vacation.
And we're going to make it so you can even watch them when they're in the dock. So, pretty cool. Now, let me go ahead and show you, though, what happens, let's say, with the dock. Let's open a few more of these things. And let's say I go ahead and, miniaturize these things. And I'll go ahead and turn the speed back up here. I miniaturize more things. And then I can also drag things into the dock. But what happens now the dock is full? What do I do? Well, it just shrinks a little bit. Right? And I can put anything in here I want. I can put websites. I can put documents. I can put anything, applications, anything that I use, and I can rearrange them at will. And the dock just accommodates anything I want. When I drag something out, it gets bigger. Right? Now, a question would be, well, how small can it get? Well, it can get pretty small, actually. You can actually set the maximum tile size, and it'll shrink from there if you have more stuff. But you can actually say, well, it'll get really small. I can hold like 128 things here. How would I ever see them, though, if they get this small, or if I even prefer them this small? Well, we have something we call magnification, which works kind of like this. Right? And so you can turn magnification on, as large as you want. You just set how big you want them when they magnify, and you can set the maximum tile size. So you can keep them like this and, do anything you want. It's really, really cool. And if you don't like it at all, you can just hide it, and it'll just come up when you go down there. Very, very simple. Okay. So now, let me show you one last thing. I'm going to take some of these things out of the dock and turn magnification off. I'm going to get the dock back up a little bit bigger again. Oh, yeah, this thing is... Let's just quit that. And so my dock's a little bit bigger again. And oops. I can also change the size of icons on my desktop, by the way. Isn't that cool? Right. Very simple. But I'm going to set my maximum tile size up large again. And drag this out. And so I've got, let me just go back here now to where I've got a few images up here. And so I've got 2 images up here. And let me go ahead and click a button that's on the right side of the top of the window pane. And this button is pretty cool. What it does is it says, you know, when we have a lot of windows around on our system, it can get rather confusing for beginners. And even for pros, if you're working back and forth between Illustrator and Photoshop, or Photoshop and something else, these things can get very complicated on the screen. What could we do to make life easier for our pro customers and for beginners? We came up with something pretty neat. And you can click it from any window. You can turn it off and on, and it's called single window mode. So you just click this, and every other window on the screen is miniaturized. And when I click another window, boom, they switch places. It's very easy. So let me put this one over here. I can say, boom, I want that one. No, I want that one. No, I really want that one. And let me go ahead and show this to you in slow-mo here. It's kind of fun. Pretty cool, huh? I can even show you some text here. Again, I launched a new app. The other one put itself away. Whoops, there we go. You know? Pretty cool, huh? So, this is Mac OS X. This is our foundation for the next decade of Macintosh operating systems. And we are thrilled with it. Now, we have some incredible developers in the Mac community. And over 100 of them have already committed to Mac OS X. And none of them have seen this yet, what you saw here today, because we've been keeping the user interface very quiet. And we've already gotten pretty much the top 100 developers committed. And I'd like to bring a few of them up on stage right now just to say a few words about Mac OS X. I'd like to start at the beginning of the alphabet and ask Bruce Chisholm, the Executive Vice President of Adobe, one of our closest partners, to come up here and say a few words. Thanks, Bruce.
Steve, this is so damn cool. Awesome. Adobe just had an incredible year. We surpassed the $1 billion mark. Steve, if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't have happened. Almost half of our revenue, close to $500 million of our revenue, was because of sales of our Macintosh applications. Thank you, Steve. We demonstrated with the release of Photoshop 5.5 for the G4 that we, probably more than anybody else, will optimize our applications for Steve's products and Apple's products. We are absolutely committed to OS X, and we are going to do everything possible to get all of our apps running, all of our key apps running at least carbonized by the time Steve ships OS X. Thanks, Steve.
Next, Kevin Brown from Microsoft. Kevin.
Thank you. Well, as you can see, it's a great time to be a Mac user these days. It's also a terrific time to be a Mac developer. Microsoft, our Macintosh business unit, has had its best year ever as well. We've had over 2 million downloads of Internet Explorer 4.5. As you see from the work that Steve briefly previewed, Internet Explorer 5 is shaping up to be a pretty exciting product as well. And so I'm excited to announce this morning that Microsoft is fully behind Steve and his OS X product. We're going to be there on day one with Internet Explorer 5 and Outlook Express 5 for OS X. We've got a great new version of Office in the works to ship later this year. We'll go to OS X on that as soon as we can as well. I think you'll be stunned by the work that we're doing. Not quite as visually appealing as that, but certainly every bit as useful as the work that we've done before. So thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. You know, when we announced our partnership with Microsoft 2.5 years ago, most people couldn't understand it and didn't think anything good would come of it. And I got to tell you, we're working very closely with these guys. Kevin has an awesome team up there of Mac developers, and they're doing some great applications on Macintosh. So, next, from Macromedia, Rob Burgess. Macromedia is on fire these days, and I'd like to bring Rob up on stage. Okay. You like it?
I'm spent. I've never seen anything like this. It's just unbelievable. I'm speechless. This isn't, it's not your daddy's operating system launch, you know? Come to, you know, lend support for the new operating system, and you just don't expect anything like this. I mean, I'm sitting here in the audience, 15 minutes into it, and, you know, we're watching the movie, scene as kids, and I realize I'm welling up with tears. I am. I mean, probably a lot of you as kids are doing the same thing, and I just, I mean, Apple is design. You know, everything you see here, you want. You want as a consumer. You just look at it, and it's beautiful. I'm actually really digging his new shoes, too. Anyway, we just got a new system in about a month ago, and we decided to try porting our most popular application, which is Flash. 200 million people have Flash Player today, and so we decided to port it. So we put an engineer on it, one engineer, for a week and a half, and it's running. So the guy actually isn't even that good. No, that's a joke. Anyway, you can count on Macromedia, all the applications that you love, Dreamweaver, Fireworks, Flash, they'll all be there. We love this stuff. Congratulations.
Thank you. Next, Richard Jones from Quark, who's president of the desktop division. Thanks, Richard.
Wow, I'm excited. I'm delighted to be here and let you know that Quark is committed and dedicated to Apple in general and to our OS X efforts in specific. It's just amazing stuff, and it's really exciting. I wish I could say that ours was only going to take a week and a half. Quark Express, however, is a bit more of an effort. We've been getting a lot of help from Apple, and we really appreciate that. But we're going to make it there, and it's fantastic stuff. And as all of you know, or some of you know probably, that Express originated on the Mac. We have been Apple fans and partners for years, since Quark was founded in the mid-'80s. And it hasn't slowed down since. And we're going to continue to be with OS X and whatever Apple comes out with beyond this, which, I don't know, my imagination kind of dies after some of this. So, but we're there for the long term. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks very much. John Carmack, the co-founder of id. John got married today. And this guy is so great, he offered to postpone his wedding to be here. And we said, no way. We'll make a video. And he said, I never thought of that. And so we have a video of John Carmack here that I'd like to show you. And he is on some tropical island now. I think by now probably married.
It was a year ago, just about today, that Apple announced that they were going to be supporting the OpenGL on the operating system, and we announced that we were going to be doing simultaneous development for our current project on the Macintosh platform. Apple's now shipping accelerated OpenGL on every single platform, and we've shipped our game now. It works well pretty much across the board, and I'm quite happy with how that's gone. what we've got with OS X is a fully modern operating system that has really the best elements that we find on a wide variety of Unix platforms, and it still has the user-friendliness and the environment that Macintosh users are used to. Quake 3 will continue to be supported on the existing Apple platforms throughout its entire lifetime. We've got updates and modifications coming along through the course of next year, but our next new product development that we start on for the Macintosh is going to be deployed exclusively on OS X. There's just too many things that I look forward to in moving to that environment that I don't plan on looking back.
And lastly, a company that we've been doing a lot with lately, Palm Computing. They're going to be spinning out very soon, and I'm happy to introduce their new CEO, Carl Jankowski.
Have a great shoes. This is awesome. We were very, very fortunate at Palm to have one of the early seeds of OS X. We're very excited and committed to Macintosh community. I think we share a common philosophy of simplicity and seamless integration and design. Most of our development work, a significant amount of it, is done on the Mac platform. I'm pleased to announce that we now have about 35,000 developers. We're growing at the rate of about 1,000 per week. Middle of December was 29,000. So we look forward to a long and strong partnership, and it's good to be back in Silicon Valley. All the best.
So, Mac OS X. Going to be rolling out on a Macintosh near you the second half of this year. And I think we have a lot to look forward to in it. And we're really excited about it.